Hello, welcome to the Believe Show. We're all My Coach coaches. I'm going to say everybody's name and then we're going to launch into talking today about everyday resilience. If you want to find more about us or watch some of the other episodes where we've been, you can go to mycoach.zone. And all of us have done tons of episodes, so you'll get lots of content there. All right, today we have Alex Jack. Hi, Alex.
Hi there.
We've got Kelly Beischel.
Hi.
And Ilene Schaffer.
Hello, everybody.
Here's the first question we're going to start with. For all of us, what is an example that you have seen in your life or in a client's life or in a colleague's life where they have been using resilience or where they could do to use resilience? And any of us could start.
You want to take it, Ilene?
Sure. One of the big areas that I'm seeing my clients really tapping their resilience is during this period of time is for my clients who are living alone and single during this time of pause for everyone, where so many people have gone into the homes, and living alone adds a whole nother layer to this issue of quarantining. And so working with my clients on resilience skills during this time has been really invaluable because it's all you during this time if you don't have that distraction of everything else going on in your home.
I'll be happy to jump in with an executive's example. We at Silicon Valley Change are coaching some executives on their next job search. And so when you, especially at a senior level, when you are looking for that right fit between the CEO or the company or the culture, that you're going to get a lot of no's, just like you did when you were junior. And so it's a little bit like going to auditions if you're an actor, and it's just, and you apply, and it's a little bit of an invisible process when you apply to things that are online. So a lot of that is, whoa, it very obviously rejection, but then what's the resilience behind it? So that's a place where I've seen it come up quite a bit.
I coach people in resilience skills after they have failed something and need to come back from those. But I've decided so I've had to build resilience skills within me when our son attempted suicide. And we had to bounce back from that, and who are we now as a family, and how is he, and all of that. So and then when both of our boys came out as gay, and it shocked us, and it wasn't a pretty scene around our home for a while, and then we got that resilience together and bounced back and are closer and stronger than ever. I like to say that resilience is built on the shoulders of adversity. And I feel like I'm really strong right now from all the things.
I'm so glad we're going to dig deeper into all of these. Thank you so much, Kelly, because those are really big ones and really personal. The ones Ilene and I are sharing are people that we know of, but that's a huge one. Thank you so much for telling me.
Yeah. Well, I guess my story would be, I think, I've had a lot of personal experience with resilience, and as well with clients. But I think for me, the most endearing story, I guess, and best example of resilience would be my dog, Buster, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But to keep the long story short, he was lost for 3 days and then miraculously reappeared, more dead than alive. When we took him to the vet, it turned out that his front leg was lame. And the vet said, well, maybe wait, and it might just be a damaged nerve, because they couldn't find any kind of trauma or anything wasn't broken. But anyway, long story short, so we took him back home, but he wouldn't sit still, because he was just, once he regained his strength, he was running up around, but he was dragging this one leg along. So I created a shoe for this leg, so that because he was dragging it and it was kind of like opening it up. Again, it didn't get any better. So I took him back to the vet, and the vet said, well, we're going to have to amputate. And I'm like completely like, no, but what if, it could come back, there's nothing wrong. And I'm pushing this thing off. But eventually, we had to amputate his front leg. And the funniest thing happened, while I'm feeling sorry for this missing leg, he jumped up and he was running around like nothing ever happened. And then it hit me this leg that I was feeling sorry for was actually nothing more than a hindrance to him. He had already shifted. He was running around like he been running around on 3 legs all his life. And he was actually running as fast as any other dog with 4 legs. I mean, in full stride gallop. And you would see that you would, if you saw him from the side with the leg, you would not know there was a leg missing. And that kind of taught me that, you know what, we tend to hold on to a lot of stuff because we get this adversity, or, you know, and we overthink, how shall we do this? How can we do this? What am I going to do? In the meantime, he already shifted, like, well, you know what, this is not helping me. This is just a burden. This is an albatross. Can you hurry up and get this? If he could speak, he probably would have said, can we get rid of this already? And here I am holding on. And I think resilience is basically knowing when to let go of that stuff, and just, you know, moving forward and being released, and just work with what you got. And he worked with what he had better than, you know, if he didn't been still hampered by that 1 leg. So that's just my example of resilience.
You know what I love in that, Alex, is we as coaches, we talk about resilience requires adaptability, and it's also living in the present. And your dog was living in the present. Your dog wasn't thinking about, I used to have 4 legs. Your dog's like, I got 3 legs and I want to run. Can we speed this up? And so it's being adaptable and living in the present.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great takeaway.
It just simplifies the idea of this is the situation and this is the future, like moving into the future as opposed to what we think it might be. And it makes me think of something that's a little bit we've talked about before, which is deliberative versus implemental mindset. So to get a little psychology here, deliberative is it's that sad state when you have to decide between things. And it actually does make you sad. Should I do this or should I do that? And then once you're in your implemental mindset, all right, how do I do that? And I love that's such a concrete example to me of stop the deliberative. you are in this situation. These are the cards you've been dealt, whatever that situation is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. How can I take this and run with it? Mm-hmm.
When many of us at this stage have aging parents, and I have 2 parents who have lost abilities physically, as well as my mom has lost much of her verbal ability. And to watch their resilience, as again, I'm sure many of our viewers have parents where you're watching them, and to watch them, this is where I am now, and making that choice to be in that moment and that decision.
What are some of the first things that you recommend that people should think about when they're in a situation, as Kelly said, in a situation of adversity? What are some of the first things? Because we know that it's sometimes just that mindset shift that's so hard to make. What are some of the first things to think about or look at or explore?
Without pretending the emotion or the disappointment, whatever that, without pretending that doesn't exist, allow for that first, rather than just suppressing. But then, you know, if it's a negative or an uncomfortable, however you want to say, emotion, then shifting it, kind of pivoting it to what could I learn from this? You know, what power can I take away from this? You know, what might I do with this and moving forward? So that it comes out from, it's not about you anymore. It's about what can I do to move this along?
Yeah, I like that, because it turns it into, if it's a trauma, but it's post-traumatic growth. It's a growth experience. It might not be trauma, but a growth experience. The other thing too, Senya, that I've really been thinking a lot about, particularly, we talked a lot about the name of our talk today, and it's everyday resilience. And what I really like to put out there is it's building resilience every single day. So as opposed to waiting for something to happen, where you now need to be resilient. And I think that's one of those things we get stuck in our head. It's like, oh, I now need to be resilient. No, we want to be working on that all the time. One of my favorite things is when a client says, you know, Ilene, I'm not sure if we have anything to discuss. I'm doing really well. I'm like, Excellent. That's when we can even do more work, right? Because we're going to keep building a skill that you're going to use. And so we want your tank, if you're looking at it like a gas tank, we want your tank full before that situation comes where you need to draw on those resilient skills.
Great point.
Yeah. And actually, because I got this inspiration from one of the talks that you, a post that you had about, the tank and the battery being depleted. And I likened it to, so it's not just, like you said, it's not just about being reactive, but it's also being proactive. And it's like a car, right? When you have a car, you check the gas, you check the tires, you make sure that there's oil in the car. This is just baseline. But when you have that, you now can drive your car, and it doesn't matter whether it's raining or whether it's snow, whether you're on a highway or whether you're off on a dirt road, because your car is prepared for those conditions. You've taken the steps needed to have that car outfitted and ready for that. And that's basically what being resilient is, by adapting all the habits you develop and train those habits. So that because you are going to be you. The only thing that's going to be changing are the circumstances around you. And then how are you going to react, or how are you going to respond to these circumstances that you face?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is have that baseline, whatever it might be, whether it's, and I'm interpolating, but maybe it's sleep, it's exercises, that you have a healthy diet, that you have some time, but create that base for yourself every day. Is that accurate? Is there something to add here?
Yeah. Keep pumping that gas in every day. And just as coaches, the four of us and other coaches do this as well, but we all work so closely together. Our clients always leave with a health action, a growth action, and a connection action. That is gas for your car. That is air for your life. We have you do that so that you're constantly building this muscle. It's like, parenting, they said, stop, move away from, oh, Kelly's such a good girl. No, Kelly has good behavior. Kelly works hard. Kelly does, same thing with resilient. Kelly's a resilient person. Well, no, that means that only Kelly was born that way. No, Kelly develops those resilient skills. And these are these actions that we give our clients beyond, the one thing they're working with us on perhaps is, let's create that resilient muscle so that you have that skill set, because we're not born either a resilient person or not a resilient person, right? Something we can develop.
I actually really like that, because we've been giving those actions for a long time, but I like to think of it from the framework of it's something they wouldn't do otherwise if they're not engaged in coaching. But it is building that. Even I'm sometimes surprised, the connection action, which you brought to us, Ilene, that connection action where we ask someone, just for people who don't know, who is someone you want to connect with between now and the next time we meet with you? It could be a family member, it could be a professional connection. People don't think of that until there's an email in the inbox or until a text comes in. So that proactive, oh, right, I really do want to speak with my brother or whoever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to summarize thus far, we're talking a lot about having the baseline. So having some baseline, but also building on it. So trying things like, what's your health action? What's your connection action? Building on things. What else should people try? Go ahead, Alex. You look like you were about to.
Well, no. So there's a toolkit that I use. It's basically resilience at work. But what I liked about them is that they broke down the areas where you can apply, the cornerstones for building blocks for resilience. And it was like 7 major blocks, and it was authenticity, it was purpose, it was perspective, and there was stress management. There's the health and networking and feedback. And so these, if you can manage those 7 areas, you're kind of like, that's like basically outfitting your car with all the necessary tools, parts, pieces that it needs to be able to drive on any surface or road conditions or weather condition.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as Superwoman.
How so? What do you mean, Kelly? Prepping to be the Superwoman or just being
Yes, when
Superwoman?
when he's talking about that, I was thinking of Superwoman and not a car. I had a thought. It was a really good one, but it went away.
We feel it. We feel it.
Well, you're thinking of your thought, Kelly. I'm going to talk about thoughts for 1 second because Alex brought it up when you were telling your story at the beginning, and Senya, when you were talking about kind of the building blocks of resilience. I want to make sure that we're not overlooking how important our thoughts are and what we're telling ourselves and what we're thinking. And that is huge that's a huge slice of the resilience pie. And so what are the things I'm telling myself either before going into something where I'm going to need to draw on that resilience muscle or in the moment? So what does that, what are those words saying? How am I taking in those words and how are they serving me? We often forget what we tell ourselves can either fill us up or make it tougher. So.
Well, thanks, Ilene. That's what I was going to talk about. Is your thought?
Is that what you were going to talk about?
Right. And the position. And I think that's what that Superwoman, right? It makes you feel stronger. And Amy Cuddy did research around this. And, standing in that Superwoman pose has you feeling stronger. People who interview, who, sit up straight and those kind of things. And more erect, it's like you have a presence then, right? And here I come kind of thing rather than here I come,
Yeah, definitely.
And it's interesting because it's fun. It's interesting how everything actually ties together. And I was having a conversation the other day with someone, and we were talking about what happens and how to deal with things and resilience and things of that nature. But then the most important thing was, but how does it happen? Because we know what to do. I mean, we've all read stuff, but how do you apply it? And he said, in the moment. You see, because it's one thing, we can talk about resilience and we can talk about all the things that we need, etc. But when that moment hits, because it is an emotional moment, 9 times out of 10, and it was really funny because I just instinctively just went back to this. This is basically what I do, and that's like the foundation of everything, and it's just that pause and take that breath, and then you take that Superwoman pose. Like because he said, and then you straighten back up and and now we move forward because it's important to acknowledge, like you said earlier, Kelly, that you acknowledge that emotion, that acknowledge that it is not all right. It's not, and I think a lot of times we feel that we have to just suppress it and just put on a brave front and move on because this is what resilience looks like. But it's not just about overcoming. It's acknowledging and knowing what to do, and then just looking at it for what it is, and then take the appropriate steps.
I want to add to that, the acknowledging the emotion. There's something that we sometimes talk about, but I don't think we have to our viewers yet, which is a part of the acknowledging is just being there in the moment with yourself body wise. Am I breathing more shallowly? Is this making me my hands move? We've had a guest on who's a friend of some of ours, Susan Bernstein, who says, if you want to have a sensational life, pay attention to your sensations.
I love it. Right. Embodiment.
So especially if we're having that and we're doing what Kelly and Alex are saying, which is allowing for the emotion first, how can we literally, like my feet are right now on the carpet. I can feel that. I can feel where my breath is. My arms are raised. It sounds simple. I know this sounds simple to the people who are with us. Okay, Senya, big deal. So I'm going to know where my feet are. But it's grounding. It's centering. It's stabilizing.
Right, because you're right there in the midst of it, in the present moment, and rather than in the past or in the future. The embodiment is big. The other is, well, another strategy is, it comes from what I learned in the embodiment class, but thinking about those, we don't think about our backs a lot because we don't see them, right? And so kind of getting in tune with your back, so you're in tune with your whole body. But one of the things I love and what I meditate with my clients about is thinking about our backs and all the people that have come before us that have been resilient, have been doing this. So if it's a nursing client, nurses that have come before them, nurses who have passed that exam, nurses who have failed that exam but came back again to do it again, family or whatever, and they all got their backs, like they all got their hands like this, and they're helping us move forward, and they have our backs. And it gives me chills thinking about it now, but I just love that, thinking about, other people have come before me and done this or worse, and I can do it too.
This is such a short show with 20 minutes, but I want to touch one more topic before we end. Kelly, the serious topics that you brought up at the beginning, how your family brought resilience into your life after one of your sons had a suicide attempt. What do you do in serious situations like this, both Kelly but the others? So we're talking about everyday resilience, but everyday resilience can also be applied to super, super serious events that come at us, because they're going to come at us.
Mm-hmm. Some of it is the first, and I don't know that I was doing it at the time, but in retrospect, it's the self-compassion. Like, I am hurting right now. This hurts. This doesn't feel good. Or this, I'm confused and, all those things, right? But to have self-compassion around that and kind of knowing that others are there with you and or have done this before or are suffering with you, but the self-compassion and allowing not to know, right? And allowing for to trust the process instead of, what I have to be in control. I have to know, I have to, that takes the flexibility away. And a mantra that came from that was love conquers all. And so now anything that happens, I go, love conquers all. Where's the love? What can I do to infuse the love or find the love or give the love? But it's something that worked for us.
The thing also, Kelly, that I've heard you talk so much about around this experience is also, it sounds like there was a lot of internal, obviously, and that self-compassion piece, but also reaching out. And it gives me chills how you reached out to each one of your kids and, and Joe, and that furthering that family bond. Instead of completely retracting and staying like this, you reached out to those who are part of your tribe, they're your people. And I think oftentimes when we're in situations that are so hard to get through, we go in. And I'm hearing you say, yes, I went in, but you also really went out to your people.
For sure. And to others, right? Because at first we were like, oh, like, what does this say? Because, the stigma and mental health and all that. But then we're like, no. What if we could help one person stay alive? What if one? And so we became very vocal about what happened and where we are with it. And I can't tell you how many people it's helped. And it's also that when I said, what could I learn from this? Or what could I, then to take it and like, what can I do to help others with this kind of thing? And then it becomes more than yourself. And, we are now thankful that Luke was bullied in junior high and that he did attempt his life, even more thankful he didn't succeed. I hate to use that word, but it didn't happen. And all the other things that came from that, because otherwise we wouldn't have this this vessel to help others with. And it was supposed to happen just this way so that others could that we can make a difference for others.
Yeah, that's ties into something that one of my coaches once told me, and she said, "Just remember that everything that you have gone through has uniquely qualified and positioned you where you are today to be able to help someone else."
Mm-hmm.
And when we're going through the thing that we're going through, it doesn't feel like anything, that we want to even hold on to. But and you know what? And through life, I mean, I have found this to be true. The old adage of each one teach one. Usually, we think about it as teaching, passing on a skill or some knowledge, but it also applies to experiences,
Mm-hmm.
because we are not, just an island unto ourselves. We are all connected in one way or the other, and even though no two experiences are identical, having the knowledge that somebody else has gone through this and that you are not the only one
Mm-hmm.
is extremely helpful and useful. So which is why, like, one of the points in the 7 steps was also having a network and being able to go have the right people around you and get the feedback that you require to be able to move forward. So anyway.
Could you say that saying again that you're taught to?
So everything that you've gone through
Mm-hmm.
has uniquely qualified and positioned you to be able to help someone else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that.
I hate to end our conversation.
No.
Two last questions. One is, what is a thought that you would like to leave with the people who are with us today? Yeah, anybody who wants to go.
I'll do a quote from my grandmother that my dad says all the time. And again, he's later life. And I think this is relevant to resilience. It's what is, what was, what will be, will be.
Mm.
If you stay in that mindset.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. I think mine is that, how I always love to say everything is on the shoulders of. So resilience is built on the shoulders of adversity. So adversity is a beautiful thing, because if you get resilience from it, you can't go wrong.
Mine is, and I just happened to come across this quote today from Sharon Salzberg, and she says basically that resilience is based on compassion for ourselves as well as compassion for others.
Mm-hmm.
And my observation in listening to everything you've said is life can be hard, and that just happens, whether it's everyday hard or it's big impact hard.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't run from it, because it's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. So I'd love that these tools are for whatever it is, whether it's small or it's big, because it's going to keep happening. I guess that's the thought that reverberates in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And our last concluding question: if you could snap your fingers and almost everyone in the world were to take some action, what would you want that action to be? Anybody?
Take the next scary step in whatever you're doing. Whatever you want to do, take that next scary step.
I just want all three of you in my ears all the time, like a little microphone that nobody even knows about. The next scary step.
We can make that happen, Senya.
I'm sure one of our tech companies could arrange for that. I think I would say laugh at yourself if you can. That helps me a ton. And if you're not ready to laugh at yourself and you have a funny friend, call a friend. Laughter, we know, is healing. We need more laughter in this world. So
good.
Like more you can bring yourself joy and smiles, even in tough times.
Well, as you know, I'm the musically inclined one. So the first thing that came to mind was this song: "Stop, look, listen to your heart and hear what it's saying." Or if that's too much work to do, stop, breathe.
Look at all of us taking a big inhale as Mine's a combination of Alex, of what you said and what Kelly said earlier. So snapping my fingers, self-compassion, that people give themselves slack, that they somehow, I don't even know what that means, whether it's mental slack or I didn't get that deadline done. I'm letting that person know, and I'm calm. I'm giving myself slack. Thank you, coaches. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Kelly.
You.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
Everybody. And we wish everybody everyday resilience.
Yes.
See you all next time.
Take care.